Do you know how much debt you have? Do you know how much you are being charged in interest every month? Do you have a goal of when you want to be out of debt? You need to get out of debt as soon as possible, and in this video I will discuss ways that you can make that happen. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Troy Thomas. I'm not licensed to give professional advice, so the information I put out in this video is meant just as a stepping stone for you to do your own research to see what will work best for you. Now, since I am new here, I could really use your help. If you would be so kind as to hit that thumbs up button for me, it really helps with the YouTube algorithm and I would greatly appreciate it. And while you're at it, might as well hit that subscribe button also. Thank you. The topic of this video is debt. At this moment, do you know how much debt you have? I don't mean approximately how much. I want to know exactly how much you have in debt, down to the dollar. To get started on this journey to get out of debt, you first need to understand how much debt you have and how much it costs you to have that debt. I want you to take out a sheet of paper and make a list of every debt that you have, except for your mortgage. Next to each of those, I want you to write down the balance for each debt and then write down the last interest charge you had for each of those debts. First, I want you to add up all of those balances, take a good long look at that number, and let it sink in. Now, add up all of those interest charges and visualize all of that as a pile of cash in front of you. Now visualize striking a match and setting that pile of money on fire. Your interest charge is basically just money you are burning every month. To take it a step further, multiply that number by 12 and realize how much money you are wasting every year in interest charges. It's probably enough to fully fund a nice 2-week vacation to someplace like Paris. Realizing how much interest I was being charged over the course of a year was one of the biggest motivators for me to get out of my credit card debt. Now I want you to get on another sheet of paper for another list. At the top of this paper, I want you to write down the net pay from your job and any other sources of income that you might have. Then list out all of the bills you have and the minimum payment for each of those. Also include monthly expenses such as groceries and fuel. Subtract all of those from your income and anything extra should be going toward your debt. Before getting into how we're going to pay this debt off fast, let's find some extra money so you can get that debt paid off faster. If you pay for everything with a debit card or a credit card, take a look at all of your transactions from the last week or the last month and see where all your money is going. I bet a lot of that is stuff that you really don't need to be spending money on. For instance, do you go to Starbucks all the time, maybe on your way to work? Instead of spending that $5-6 on a coffee from Starbucks, make your coffee at home and then take it to work with you. It's going to save you a lot of money. Also, do you go out to lunch with your coworkers quite often? It's another thing that can save you a lot of money just by making food at home and taking it to work with you and eating your lunch at work. Let's look at some of your monthly bills. How many of those are subscriptions or memberships? How many of those are seldom used or maybe they're not even used at all anymore? Those can be canceled and that will free up a lot of money also. Try to find as much money as possible. If you can only find $50 or so, that's better than nothing. But the more money you have to put toward your debt, the faster you're going to get out of debt. Okay, I want to mention something else here real quick before we get into how you're going to start paying down your debt. A lot of you have probably heard of Dave Ramsey. If you haven't, he's a big-time financial guy that's helped a lot of people get out of debt. I would recommend reading his book, The Total Money Makeover, at some point early in your quest to become debt-free. I don't agree with everything that he preaches, but you can read it and form your own opinions. Probably the best thing he is known for is coming up with the baby steps. 7 of them to be exact. Paying off all of your non-mortgage debt is actually baby step number 2. Number 1 is to save $1,000 as an emergency fund, and he suggests doing this completely before moving on to step number 2. I won't say that you definitely need to do this, but I would recommend it. It's totally up to you. Getting into the meat of the topic now, let's figure out which method is going to be best for you. The 2 most popular methods are Debt Snowball and Debt Avalanche, and each one has its pros and cons. The Debt Snowball is the one that Dave Ramsey tells everyone to do, and it's probably the one that has the most success for more people. The way it works is you list out all the debts, starting with the one with the lowest balance. You pay as much as you can on the one with the smallest balance, and pay the minimum on all the others. When the first one is paid off, you move on to the account with the next smallest balance, and you do the same thing. The reason this works for so many people is psychology. By tackling the smallest balance first, it should be the quickest to pay off, which you feel good when you cross off a debt, and it motivates you to keep going. The debt avalanche is similar in that you will tackle one debt while paying the minimum on all the others. But with this method, you will tackle the account that has the highest interest rate first. This is the one that I did, and the method I would recommend to most people. This is the one that saves you the most money and gets you out of debt faster. It will take longer to pay off that first debt, which prolongs the good feeling of crossing off a debt from your list, but if you stick with it, you're going to reach your goal a lot sooner. Let's go back to the debt snowball, and I'll show you an example of how that works. I've created some charts made up of random debt balances and payments. I've listed 5 debts with various balances totaling $11,000, with the lowest balance listed first. The minimum payments come out to $200 per month. For this example, let's assume that you are able to come up with an extra $300 per month toward paying off your debt. So with the debt snowball method, you will make the minimum payment on debts 2 through 5 and use that extra $300 on debt number 1. This will make your monthly payment on that debt $325. With a balance of $1,200, you can have debt number 1 paid off in about 4 months. Feels good, right? On this next chart, you can see that we have 4 debts left with a total balance of $9,100 and a new minimum payment of $175. However, you are going to continue paying the same amount. That means you will now take that $325 that you are using for debt number 1 and add it to your minimum payment for debt number 2, which equals $355, while paying the minimum for the other 3 debts. It is going to take about 5 months to get that second debt paid off, and you are feeling pretty good about erasing your debt. On this chart, you can see the balance is totaling $6,695, with the minimum payment at $145. You've got to keep this momentum going. The extra $355 will be combined with debt number 3's minimum payment of $40, and you will now make a monthly payment of $395 on debt number 3. Now we are 15 months into this debt-free journey, and you only have 2 debts left to go. You now have a little more than $4,000 to pay on. So far, you've gotten rid of almost $7,000 of your debt. Your new payment on debt number 4 will be $440. It's going to take another 5 months to get this one paid off, so don't stop now. You've got just 1 debt left, and that balance is sitting at only $1,800. Now you're going to be putting all $500 on debt number 5, and it's going to take you another 4 months to pay it off. After 24 months, you have erased $11,000 of debt. You are now debt-free. How does that make you feel? I know when I made my final payment, it felt wonderful, and I want you to feel the same way. Let me show you another graphic that shows the payoff duration with different payment amounts. If there are no interest charges, you could probably do it in about 60 months. But I don't have the time to recalculate the charts to include different interest rates on the ever-changing balances. So all of these numbers are based on no interest. If you only had $100 extra every month, it would take you 38 months, which is a little over 3 years. If you had $200 extra, you could probably pay off the debts in about 29 months, or 2.5 years. We already went over $300 extra. But if you had $500 extra, your total monthly payment would be $700, and it would take you a year and a half to pay off. With $800 extra, you would now be putting $1,000 toward your debt every month, and you could be debt-free in about 11 or 12 months. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the option of debt consolidation. Consolidating your debt can be very beneficial if done the right way. Be wary of companies telling you they can get you out of debt by consolidating through them. You could probably do it cheaper elsewhere. Here's what I did. When I first started the debt avalanche, my Discover card was charging me the most interest, so it was the first card that I paid off. Discover also offers balance transfers, so I looked into it further. The offer was 12 months at 0% interest, but there was a one-time 3% transfer fee. But that was still a lot cheaper than my other credit cards were charging. However, I didn't jump at the offer right away. Since I was paying about $1,100 to $1,200 every month on my credit cards, I waited until my total debt was to a point where I could pay it all off in about 10 months. Give me a little bit of room just in case something unexpected came up. Which something unexpected did come up, but 11 months after I consolidated, I was able to pay off all of my credit cards. Something else that is really important during this time is to not go further into debt. If at all possible, stop using your credit cards. If you can't afford to pay for an item with cash, you can't afford that item. You probably don't even need it anyway. With all of this being said, I hope you found it useful. Work out those numbers and see where you are at right now. Figure out which method you think is going to be better for you. Is it going to be the debt snowball? Maybe the debt avalanche? Maybe during your research you're going to find a method that's going to be even better than both of those. If you are in debt right now, you need to immediately start working toward getting all of your debts paid off as soon as possible. Ask yourself these questions. Am I ready? Am I committed? Set yourself a goal of when you'd like to be out of debt. Go to the comments section below, tell me which method you think you're going to use, and give me a date of when you plan to be out of debt. Once you have all your debts paid off, you might want to start considering investing your money into the stock market. Webull is one of the brokerages that I use, and I have a link to Webull down below. Right now you have a chance to get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850. You get one just for signing up, but then you get another if you deposit at least $100. And that's a great deal. Thank you for stopping by, and I'm really glad you kept watching until the end. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel. I invite you to follow along as we work toward financial freedom. Until next time, have a great day.